Welcome back to SurgeCast, the vodcast that inspires creators to be better creators. Thank you for joining me today, everybody. If you're new here, consider subscribing and following the show. My name is John, and on today's episode, we have someone who speaks at conferences all about how AI is the best thing since sliced bread. I've had him on my show, The Basement Surge, a couple times, and he never fails to bring the value. True story. He really doesn't. He's been in the podcasting game for years and knows a thing or two about branding. So much so, he started a little podcast called Branded with Sarah Losi. Today, we're talking to Larry Roberts. In this episode, we talk about how AI should be a part of your workflow and some benefits to the using it daily. I also find out he's an avid World of Warcraft player. I may have to join his server. That's pretty awesome. Let's get into it. All right, Larry, thank you very much for coming on SurgeCast today. I really appreciate your time, man.
Man, it's great being here. I appreciate you having me on and can't wait to jump into the convo.
Yeah, man. I mean, you and I were talking before recording, and you know, it's just like I got to know you a little better, and I love that. I love it. I learned you're a gamer, and dude, that's a plus in my book. So
That's funny. Yeah, man. We'll tell the world, I still play World of Warcraft. I've been playing since it launched late in 2004, and
yeah.
I've been playing ever since. I literally, and I say literally a lot, I just noticed this. So if I say literally too many times, call me on it. But I still have the actual screenshot from early 2005 when my character popped 60 for the very first time. I've still got it where she's because I timed it. I made sure that I was ready to catch the screenshot when she hit 60. And actually, it was a dude coon back then. But yeah, when it hit 60, I've still got that screenshot, and I don't ever want to let that one go.
That's awesome, man. Awesome. But yeah, I mean, it kind of, your tenacity kind of goes, along the same lines as what you're kind of doing today with branding and podcasting and speaking and all this other stuff. Like you have so much stuff going on,
Dude, I have one mode, and it's just whenever I get obsessed with something, it becomes everything. And back in 2014, when I learned about podcasting, I became obsessed with it. And been in the podcasting content creation space since then. And, it was eventually even able to make it a full-time career. So
Love it. I've had you on my other show, The Basement Surge, before. You and I have had kind of your origin story conversation before. But since then, you've come out with this wonderful little book here, okay, that I have marked up and written in. And I'm sorry to say, but one of my bookmarks is a Tylenol 2-pack.
Did the book give you a headache? You're like, this thing is so hard to get through that I need some Tylenol to help me get to the second half.
It's no reflection on the content of the book.
Oh, okay, good.
Okay,
Right.
It just so happened to be the thing that I had next to my bed one night when I was reading it before going to bed, and so I just used it as a bookmark.
Hey,
I don't like folding pages.
I get it.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's been a long time since you've been on the show. I wanted to catch up, talk a little bit about your book, do a little promotion on this thing. I love it.
Appreciate it.
I've read the whole thing front to back, and I'm very impressed, Larry, because honestly, first of all, before we get started, you are the first person on the show, on actually any of my shows that I've ever interviewed, that has put out a book. Okay.
Oh, wow.
So you are like the first legit author on my book, on my show, and that I actually have the book here in my hand. So
yeah, that's cool, man. That's cool.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
But in the book, you talk about using AI a lot as far as creating it,
Sure.
Can you talk a little bit about that and what the creation process was like?
Yeah, man. I wanted to have a book before Podfest of this year, and what are we 24, right? We're in 24, right? Yeah,
Yes.
January 24. So I wanted to have a book by then, and yeah, I've been doing talks on AI for a couple of years now. Ever since ChatGPT dropped, I think I was able to do a talk that it dropped November of 22, and I did a talk in January of 23, and it just launched me into the AI sphere, and somehow I've been positioned as the AI guy in the podcast space and in a couple of other arenas as well. And I wanted to have a book prior to Podfest of this year. And I was sitting here going, how am I possibly going to get this done in time for the event? Because it was long about August, September. And the reason I wanted to have a book is because I was taught a very valuable lesson. I had flown out to San Diego and done a talk on AI for a group called EO, or Entrepreneurs Organization.
Hmm.
And after I came down off stage, we were having kind of a little after party type thing or whatever. But people were coming up, going, "Man, thank you for the talk. I would love to buy your book." Well, I didn't have a book.
Right.
So I was like, this is a problem I have to solve. And again, I wanted it for Podfest as well. So I thought, I'm sitting here talking about AI. We're using AI to do blog posts and this and that and summarize podcasts and create show notes. Why can't I use one to write a book? Why can't I
Hmm.
use AI to write a book? So that's what I started doing. Was I started playing with some prompts to come up with the idea for the book.
Yeah.
Next, I started laying out the outline of the book using prompts, and this was all Chat GPT is what I was using at the time, and I'm still a big Chat GPT kind of guy. There are some other great chatbots out there, but I tend to stay close to home with Chat GPT. But once I started getting that outline in place, I had the chapters, I had the names of the chapters, I had the content for each chapter. I just started going back in and using prompts, started building out those chapters. And eventually I got to the point where I had a book. Now, I also say in the book, if you open it up, the very first page, there's a disclaimer that says, hey, this was written with AI, and here's why I did it. And I kind of tell that story a little bit. And then I also kind of point out some of the benefits of using AI in this exercise. So
Hmm.
it was to demonstrate my proficiency in AI, it was to get me a book. And it was to kind of tell my story too, because it's called Under the Red Hat, which interestingly enough, the book is written with AI, but it's about branding.
Right.
And that's what we focus on with my company and everything about the red hat. People always come up and they go, dude, I love your brand. That red hat, it just stands out in a crowd.
Yeah.
And what people sometimes overlook when they're building a brand is, yeah, the hat identifies me, but it's not really my brand. It's
Hmm.
everything that's under the hat that's the brand. It's the way I work with people. It's the way that we provide high value to our clients. It's the way we conduct ourselves each and every day in our personal lives, in our private lives, and in our business lives. It's the way we appear online. It's the way we appear when we're networking and all these other avenues. So I wanted to leverage the AI to tell the branding story at the same time. And there is one little caveat to the book. Chapter 3, I wrote that one myself. So super proud of that
All
accomplishment,
by yourself.
all by myself. So, and I'll tell you why though, because and we're seeing evolutions in AI. I mean, shoot, just this past week, ChatGPT dropped a new version.
Right.
Google Gemini dropped all their new updates. There's so many advancements that just took place in the last week. Because even with all these amazing new updates, and even if you've watched some of these demonstrations that are out there, they're starting to be able to replicate emotion. And
Right.
these chatbots are even getting to where they can detect our emotion just by looking at our face, because they can see us and tell us how we're feeling. And they're pretty darn accurate. But the bottom line is that these tools still can't tell our stories because they
Hmm.
don't know them.
Right.
ChatGPT doesn't know the story of the red hat, why the red hat came to be, or how it came to be. It doesn't know what that means. It doesn't know what it means to me. So that's the one thing that AI has yet to replicate, and it never will. It
Mm.
doesn't know our stories unless our stories are out there somewhere else on the internet. But it doesn't know the feelings behind our stories. It doesn't have that emotional intelligence or that EQ that we as human beings possessed and will need to continue to possess and do extremely well. And we'll need to leverage EQ going forward to make sure that we can still differentiate ourselves from these AI chatbots that are out there. There you go.
Well,
I
well,
took the
well,
scenic route, but damn it, I got there. So,
well, that's the thing though, is that these AI, like these AI programs, they lack that human emotion, that human touch, right? Like they yes, they don't know the backstory behind the red hat, but if you tell it in the prompt, then it could kind of tell a compelling story.
oh, 100%. I mean, if you wanted to craft a prompt, and a lot of folks, they they don't craft very in-depth prompts. They'll
Right.
give one little blurb as a prompt and expect to get these amazing results from these tools.
Like
And it
me.
just
Yeah.
doesn't work that way
Yeah.
because I often refer to ChatGPT as a brilliant toddler. It knows just about everything, but it doesn't understand context or emotion. And we as humans, we tend to jump to conclusions. And because you and I can sit here and have a conversation, I
Mhm.
can kind of imply where I'm going in the conversation, and you can assume that that's where I'm taking it, right?
Right.
But these tools, they can't do that. They can't imply, they can't assume. You have to give them every little bit of information because, as with any kind of data, because that's all we're doing is trading data back and forth, the better your data is, the better your results are going to be.
Hmm. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you actually offer an AI course on your website, don't you?
Yes, we do offer AI consulting and coaching. So there's a couple of different plans that we have out there. But yeah, we work with people on a regular basis on helping them develop prompts, helping them implement AI into their businesses. I actually started an entire series and I've written a handful of, we'll just call them ebooks because they're, I don't know, 25 to 35 pages long.
Hmm.
And the entire series is called AI Proof. So it's how do we AI proof our business? How do we AI proof our podcast? How do we AI proof our content? I did one the other day for business brokers because I did a talk here in Dallas for the Dallas Business Brokers Association.
Hmm.
So I wrote an ebook on how to AI proof the business broker business itself. So that's my goal here is to make sure that we get out and we educate people in all of these different verticals on what AI means for their business and how they can prepare themselves to move forward in this AI revolution that we're experiencing.
I love it. I love it. Um, can you talk a little bit about how you organize these chapters? Okay, because in the book, because chapter 3 is the birth of the red hat, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So wouldn't you normally start that with chapter 1 or maybe an introduction? But I have to applaud you though, because reading the book, when I first started, you got right into the value. You got right into the content of the book,
Yeah.
and what the book was about. And then you got into your story.
Right. Well, I kind of wanted to reinforce what branding was and why you need to do it and why you need to have a strong personal brand. So I wanted to lay that foundation and then build on that foundation with my story. Because most people, if you don't know who I am and you happen to pick up this book and start reading it, you don't know about the red hat. You don't know about branding. You don't know where this is going to be taking you. So I wanted to set a foundation and then build on it from there.
Mm. Okay. All right. Uh, I know you do a lot of speaking at conferences, at businesses, at corporations, and all that.
Mhm.
Um, c- can you speak a little bit to the difference between building a personal brand and a business brand, like
Oh,
for corporation? Like, what do you think would be more profitable or more marketable? I guess like, is there a difference?
Oh, there's definitely a difference, and a lot of it is based on your approach to business and your personal goals. We as content creators, we tend to find ourselves building more personal brands, meaning
Right.
you as an individual, what value do you bring to the table? What is your unique value proposition? Or if you're a content creator or a podcaster, your unique listening proposition. From a corporate perspective, it's an entity, so you're building a brand around an entity. What services does this company provide? What services does this business provide? And in what manner do they provide it?
Mm.
What are their core values? What are their mission statements? And a lot of times in personal brands, we don't necessarily see mission statements or value statements in a personal brand. But a personal brand tends to be more viewed of how do people perceive you? If people come up and then they go, "Oh, man, dude, I've heard so many great things about you. So great to meet you." And they're shaking your hand. They're so excited. And you hear back that they think you're so friendly and you're so cordial. That's a personal brand.
Right.
But if you got drama going on in the background and people are talking trash about you and they're saying, "Oh, he's a bad guy. He's mean," and when you don't talk to him, then that's a negative reflection on your personal brand. And
Mm.
to kind of put it in perspective, my personal brand was completely destroyed in the company where I used to work at a corporate level
Really?
because I freaking hated it. And I sat there all day, every day. with my fingers on the Alt Tab buttons. And if you know what you can do with an Alt Tab, is you can scroll between the different windows that you have up, right? So I'm
Yeah.
sitting there on the interwebs, and I got that Alt Tab ready in case somebody walks up, and I Alt Tab it back onto my spreadsheet and act like I'm working. Well, you're not quite as fast as you think you are, and, and you're
Yep.
not going to Alt Tab quite fast enough 99.9% of the time. And if the vice president of your IT department is a freaking ninja, which ours was, he just poof appears out of nowhere, and you don't even have time to hit that Alt Tab. But I mean, you'd catch me sleeping at my desk. You'd catch me. I mean, I may have played World of Warcraft at work. There's, you know, there. Hey man, those dailies, they add up. You got to get them dailies knocked
That's
out so you
right.
can raid at night. Okay, so
Yeah.
it's priorities, brother. But people realize that I hated being there and I hated that job, but I
Right.
was never going to progress. I had a decent position. I mean, I was a nice six-figure salary that I walked away from, but
Dude.
I hated it. I hated every minute of it. And as the years progressed, I was there 21 years, and those last few, maybe even 3 to 5 years, were
Mhm.
just they were just terrible. And
Yeah.
I completely destroyed, who I was from a corporate brand perspective.
Right.
So that was my personal brand there. Now it's funny because the people that I used to work with, they see me going everywhere and speaking on stages and consulting with the State Board of Education here in Texas, and they see me regularly on ABC here in the Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex, and they're like,
Yes.
"What the heck? Why weren't you doing this at the office?" And we're not going to go down that path, but they could have had this guy, they could have had this Larry,
Yeah.
but they didn't. So, anyways, the difference now is my personal brand says something totally different today
Sure.
than what it said in that corporate environment.
Right. A quick story. The family business that I used to work at, I worked in the IT department. I basically ran it. And we had these programs called Master Slave that I had a master program on my computer and then slave computers on all the employees. And I
Yeah.
could, and anytime I can pop in and see what they were doing without them even knowing. Like I could
Right,
just
right,
view the screen, So
right.
you'd have probably been in trouble.
I would have been fired. Okay, let's just be honest. I would have been fired. And in all honesty, I mean, that's kind of one of the reasons I knew I had to leave,
Right.
because I did have a little protection from the VP in the department. I mean, he's still one of my best good pals today, and he took really great care of me and a couple of the other guys, and we're all still best good pals. But he was getting up there, and he's going to retire, and he's pretty well retired now. And I knew that once he was gone, this guy here was gone too. So I was like, all right, I got to make some changes here. And, I just happen to love podcasting, and things were working out well in that arena. So I just built on that.
That's
But,
awesome.
but yeah, there's no doubt, because we had programs where we could shadow
Yeah.
different desktops, basically master slave. But to my knowledge, at least, yeah, and I would have heard about it, I'm sure, that the user had to approve us to shadow them before we could actually get on their desktop and see what was up. But
Yeah.
it wouldn't surprise me if they had a master slave program in there now, and they probably implemented it in my name. They call it the Larry program.
So this charisma that you have with public speaking and on podcasting and with everything that you do now, did you always have that, or is that something you learned through the years because you said, hey, I gotta bust my ass now, I gotta do what I gotta do to make this happen?
I would say that I was blessed with outward charisma,
Mm.
but at the same time, I've spent a lot of money and a lot of time investing in developing it. I've taken comedy classes. I did open mic comedy for years. My first podcast was a comedy podcast because of my open mic, my love for open mics.
Right.
And I was never good enough at it. That's why I stayed an open micer. But I also went to Toastmasters, and that taught me how to speak properly. I went to Toastmasters when I was like 20. So, I mean, the communication development was always there. And in all honesty, that's what allowed me to go as far as I went, even in a corporate environment. I don't have a degree. I've
Mm.
got 6 college credit hours to my name. 3 of them are in speech, and 3 of them are in Pascal programming, which is dead. It makes
Pascal.
Pascal. I said, "Hello, world." So, so that's all I've got from a formal, extended education perspective. Yes, I graduated high school.
Right.
I was in the top 3 of my class in high school. My graduating class, though, only had 5. So it was pretty easy to be in the top 3. But no, I'm serious. We had 5
Yeah.
people in my senior class. It's crazy.
That's
Um,
crazy.
but the communication is what opened doors for me because I came right out of high school, started selling cars, did very well selling cars for several years. From there, I was teaching karate, so I was always in front of an audience there. Would work with the police academy in Grayson County up in North Texas, and did
Mhm.
all kinds of things from a public facing perspective. Then I eventually started working at TI or Texas Instruments, and my communication skills allowed me to move into a corporate training position. That allowed me to move to the company where I was for 21 years as a corporate training manager. And I was a corporate training manager there for about a year and a half, 2 years. Then I got moved into IT for a big implementation. And this implementation project lasted about, we'll say 16 years or so. It was a long time.
Yeah.
We implemented an ERP system, which is basically just it's a software system that allows all of your different locations to be on the same platform,
Okay.
because this company was global. I mean, they had locations all over the place, but everybody had their own operating system and they all had their own warehouse management system. Well, this JD Edwards allowed everybody to be on the same page. And I got brought in as the training coordinator for this project. Then after that was over, they're like, well, what do we do with Larry? So I became a business analyst. So I started being I was the go-between between the user and the programmers, and I was writing specs and that sort of thing. Then I moved
Hmm.
into business intelligence, and the more I moved into IT, the less I was forward facing, the less I was using my talents in communication.
Right.
I'm sitting here trying to write code. I'm not a programmer.
Yeah.
I
You
just I
spend
just
the
wasn't.
majority of the day by yourself. Right. Yeah.
100%, and that's not my
Right.
gig. So it was just the career kind of veered off onto another path, and I was like, "Well, it pays well, but bruh, I hate data." I mean, I understand the value,
Right.
but to sit and the reason I even moved into the BA role or the business analyst role was because I ended up after 15, 16 years of this project, I knew the data better than anybody.
Yeah.
I was one of from every department's perspective. If somebody needed a field on a report, they go, Larry, where do I find this? And I knew exactly where it was in the database. And that's what kind of put me in that position. And although it was a good paying position, it just wasn't me. It's just
Yeah.
not what I wanted to do by any stretch of the imagination. It was rough, but
You
I'm very thankful
sound
for it.
like a really true creative person, because I know a lot of creatives that they don't like to be stuck in a corner. They don't like to be left alone. They like to be out, and doing their thing and showing the world and
Yeah. Well,
so
I'm such a creative nerd that if we go back to high school, and I do still have my high school class ring, on one side of my ring, I did play basketball, but there was actually a game where the coach yelled out, "Larry, don't shoot the ball." So I wasn't that good at it.
Hmm.
So if you look back at my high school ring, on one side I have business, and on the other side I have art. So I've
Okay.
all yeah, I was always creative, and that's where I was the whole time. I mean, I
Yeah.
was the art director for our yearbook. I drew the cover of our student directory. I was the art guy. So
Nice.
yes, creating was always at the core of a lot of what I do.
Yeah, and that's translated into your brand building, I think at least,
No, 100%.
Sure, sure. I kind of use the same tools, because I'm a very artistic person. I'm a very creative person. My background is a lot of painting and drawing and graphic arts, and so and I brought that into my show, and look what it's turned into. But
Yeah, yeah,
um, let's talk a little bit about Branded, your podcast with Sarah. Okay,
yep.
how did that come about?
Well, Sarah was one of my biggest fans, and no, I'm just kidding. I say that just to frustrate her.
Hi, Sarah.
Uh, yeah. Hey, Sarah. Um, we actually did meet I say we met at Podcast Movement. She insists that we met 3 times prior that I don't recall. So, and she loves telling that story. But it was just an interesting combination because she has her business called Favorite Daughter Media.
Mhm.
I had Red Hat Media, and sure, there's some overlap there from a podcasting perspective. But she tends to focus on coaching and brand building and storytelling, whereas I'm more on the technical side and the brand building side and that sort of thing. So we saw an opportunity for us to work together. On another note, I'm almost 52 years old. She's a
What?
whopping
Wait,
28. Yeah,
whoa, whoa,
yeah.
whoa.
What?
You what?
Yeah,
you
dude. Yeah.
you don't look like over like 40.
Oh yeah, I'm almost. Yeah, I'll be 52 in August.
God bless you,
So
man.
thank you,
Wow.
thank you. It's some good beard dye and fake teeth. It works.
There you go.
Yeah, veneers and beard dye, brother. That's the secret to youth
Uh,
and vitality.
that's a secret.
Uh,
Yeah.
but it makes for a great conversation because she has that perspective from her generation. I have the perspective from my generation. Sometimes those clash, sometimes they line up. I tend to learn a lot from her. She just learned a new word from me this week. So we teach each other lessons along the way. And we saw the opportunity for that dynamic to be built into a podcast. And because we were building branded podcasts, that's the focus of what we do between our business. We started the Branded Podcast, and we actually founded Branded LLC. So I co-own Branded, that company. I'm a co-founder there with Sarah, and then we still have our individual companies as well.
Nice. Wow. So you guys, the both of you, have a lot going on right now. I mean, I've listened to your show. I've even seen your clips on LinkedIn. And you guys, like, the look of your show is on point, right?
Well, I got to give Sarah credit for all of that. I mean, and you can look at it as it might have a little feminine touch to it, but it looks nice. She did a great job, man. The logo's adorable. It's nice. There's just
Yeah.
a hint more pink than I would personally prefer.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, hey, man, it works. So.
All right. Well, Sarah, let's make it a little bit more masculine for Larry. But no, seriously, like, for a show about branding, like, the branding for the show is on point. Like,
She did amazing.
Yeah,
she did an amazing job.
Yeah. I really do. I love the little clips you guys put on socials. Like, you guys are really funny together.
And that's what we were shooting for, is just that dynamic, and it tends to work. The one thing we haven't done, I don't believe we've been on panels together before, but we haven't actually shared a stage and done a presentation together before. So that's something that we're shooting for in the coming months. Hopefully we'll be able to knock that out. So
you guys do shoot the show remotely then?
Yeah, she's in Austin and I'm in Dallas. So we do it just like we're doing right now. We do it on StreamYard.
Yeah. Is that a far drive for you? I don't know.
It's about 3.5 hours.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it's a bit of a trek.
Yeah.
But I tend to get down there for a while, man. I was down there about once a month, but I get down there every couple of months now. So
yeah. I had seen the pictures you guys posted at the last podcast convention. What was it, in California that you guys met up at?
We definitely did one in LA. We did one in LA. It was the Outlier Podcast Festival. We did that one. What else did we do? Dude, we've done so much. We were just talking about that. We were just talking about that yesterday. We met and we were looking at upcoming conferences. She's got this platform that gives you all these conferences listed that are looking for speakers, and you can sort by industry and all kinds of fun stuff. And we were going through looking for some gigs, and we were talking about how, man, we're all over the place. And she's like, I think I want to just start focusing more on virtual gigs. So, and I mean, I can dig it, because sometimes traveling a lot gets pretty expensive. You know what I mean?
It's totally different, I would think, being a speaker, let's say, at a convention in person than it is digitally, virtually.
Yeah, 100%. I don't typically like doing virtuals. I mean, I will. I'm not saying I'm too good to do virtuals. I will do them, but they're definitely not my favorite thing by any stretch of the imagination, because I'm more of a dynamic audience engagement type speaker. I love to be involved in the audience. I love to walk down if I have the opportunity. If it's not a big high stage, then I love to walk into the audience, and I love to get that feedback. And, I like to be able to crack a joke and watch the audience laugh. That lets me know that I'm making an impact, or at least they're listening. And if they're not listening, I just did this weekend. If they're not listening, I'll call them out. Go, hey.
Hey, you.
There was one dude that would not get off his cell phone during my talk. And I was like, hey, man. You're out here from Dallas. Come on, man. Put it down.
Wow, and then good for you.
He didn't even budge. He didn't even acknowledge it. And I was like, man, he is into it. And the whole audience was laughing. And he's like, what? Oh, me? Oh, sorry. So I just like to have fun with people. So, and you can't quite have that level of fun on a virtual event most of the time.
Yeah. A couple of weeks ago, I had asked you if you had any video online of you actually doing talks, because I wanted to, I want to start getting into this, I want to start doing public speaking, and and I wanted to study from the best. So I wanted to watch some of your videos, and you didn't have any, but you started posting on socials, and I seen, and I
I
noticed.
did. I did. Well, that's because I went to
Is
my
was that
speaking
because of
manager.
me?
Yeah, he's definitely a contributing factor. Yes. So I went to my speaking manager. Her name's Tony Caruso. She's out of Dallas here with the eWomen's Network. And I said, Tony, I need to have some footage. And I know you've got footage of me doing talks.
Yeah.
Can you hook me up? So she was kind enough to hook me up with a couple of my talks, and I was slicing and dicing them into some reels, giving little snippets there. So that worked out. But yes, you were definitely an influence in that arena
Yes.
there that made me go out and find some stuff. I said, all right, we need to get it out there.
Yes.
But now I've gotten lazy. I've got several more reels. They're made. They're already there. I gotta publish them. So man, sometimes you just don't have enough time. But
All right,
I
so
need to
well,
do it.
let's talk about that. Okay, let's
Yeah.
talk about time. Okay, how much time do you have? Because it seems like you're putting out a buttload of content, right? Whether
Yeah.
it be podcasting or on socials. Do you work with a team, or is this just literally all you, like cutting up
No,
video?
we have a production team for our clients. So we have a team that does all the editing and the building of the assets for the shows that we produce and the shows that we've launched.
Mm,
So we do have a team there. I don't tend to leverage the team, and neither does Sarah, for our personal content. That typically comes from us, but the team definitely gets involved from a client perspective.
awesome, that's awesome. I want a team. I got my
Keep
wife
at it,
over there
man.
in the office next to me. I should hire her
Is she
as an
giving you the
assistant.
dirty look right now? Did she hear you say that? Did she hear you say I want a team?
No, she can't see me. I don't know if she's here. I'm wearing the headphones. I can't hear
Oh, okay. All right. All right.
her. Oh man, but I wanted to talk to you about AI in this episode, but we've gone really into branding, and this is actually a really good episode so far. Okay, so
So
let's
far, no pressure for the second half,
so
but
far.
so far you've done okay, Larry. Thanks.
Good job.
Thanks.
Let's talk about AI a little bit more, okay?
Sure.
Because you're huge on AI. You're doing talks all over the country, dare I say, all over the world.
Not
Do
yet.
it
Just the
about
country. Just the country. I have not left the country yet, so
yeah.
we're working on it. But it didn't happen yet, so
Do
we'll
it.
get there.
Do it.
Oh, we will. We'll get there.
How do you think AI is going to really revolutionize the way corporate America puts out stuff, or puts out a product, or puts out social media content?
Oh, tremendously. 85% of all Fortune 500 companies are using AI in some fashion or form already.
Mm,
And then with the updates to ChatGPT last week and the updates to Gemini last week, we're going to see a transfer. I mean, they went and they put out a ton of businesses. They put a ton of businesses out of work just with this update.
yeah.
I was talking specifically the other day about the AI companion industry. And if you ChatGPT right now, and from a text perspective, you've already got the new version, but none of the other features have rolled out yet. But they've made significantly huge improvements in the text to speech, or even just the speech version of ChatGPT. So if you're using it on your mobile device, you can go to ChatGPT right now and ask it a question.
Mm,
And what you do, you ask it a question, and it'll sit there for a few seconds. Then it'll finally respond and give you an answer. But they've completely eliminated that latency. There's no longer 3, 5, 7 seconds between the time you ask ChatGPT something and it answers you. So you can have real time conversations. You can have a real AI companion that is with you 24/7 right here on your mobile device. So for any of these industries that were taking the Chat GPT back end or the API and then building a skin on top of it with a voice algorithm to act as a companion,
mhm.
they're all dead in the water now. It's gone. You
Wow.
don't need it. All those businesses, poof, overnight. They woke up Tuesday morning and they're obsolete.
Yeah.
So that's the type of thing we're going to continue to see when it comes to these AI platforms that are out there, whether it's Google Gemini, whether it's OpenAI's ChatGPT or Microsoft Copilot or Claude. I love Claude, by the way, amazing. Meta's trying to be a player with Llama. They're all embedding these companions into their desktop applications,
Mm,
and ChatGPT just launched their desktop application last week as well. It's only available on Mac right now, so I don't know what they're doing waiting on PC guys, but hopefully they'll get to me sooner or later. But we're seeing just these massive developments over and over. Then you take into account like Boston Dynamics and what they're doing in the robotics field. And I don't know if you saw their newest robot, but that thing is freaking creepy.
Is that the
So
one I seen on TikTok that does the push-ups like an army guy?
no, they've got an even newer version than that one. They have this. It's very humanoid looking. I don't know if you watched Lost in Space on
Yeah.
Netflix series. Okay, so it's very much like Robot. Looks almost just like Robot from
Oh,
Lost in
wow.
Space. So you're getting these humanoid robots now that move and feel and look like humans. Now you're getting these voices that you simply cannot tell are artificially generated, backed by these large language models that have as much knowledge as you could possibly, more than you could possibly imagine. 400 billion different parameters just in GPT-4. I don't know what the parameter count is on 4.0 that just was released, but it's got to be significant. And then forget the parameters on the large language model side of things. Look at the instant access to the internet. I mean, I went yesterday. Was it yesterday or day before yesterday? I think it was Sunday after I got home. I was just playing with the new version, seeing what I could do from a getting personal information perspective. And I asked it to give me my email address. And at first it goes, I can't give you personal information, including email addresses. But as I went through the exercise, and I even posted a screenshot on Facebook, I don't think I posted it on LinkedIn, but with just a couple more prompts, I got an email address for me. And
Wow.
I didn't post a screenshot from my previous exercise where it gave me my phone number.
So you
So
literally have to know the correct syntax, the correct terminology to use.
it was so simple, though. If you go look at the post on Facebook, it was
Yeah.
just a couple of different. There were one sentence prompts. They weren't lengthy, compound prompts by any stretch of the imagination. There were single phrase prompts that got me to where I was going. Now, the email
Wow.
address it gave me, it was an older email address, but it's still legit. It's
Still
still an
found it.
legit.
Yeah.
So these things, they're going to revolutionize personal security, private security, internet security, you name it. Cybersecurity is being revolutionized right now.
Yeah.
A good friend of mine, Kevin Pentecost, he's a cybersecurity expert. He's got an amazing podcast called Cyber Distortion. Give him a little plug there if you're into the security side of things. And they're seeing these jumps, and it's scary. It's just scary to see how fast things are changing. And from a business perspective, it's going to continue to evolve. We're going to continue to see the evolution of different positions. We're going to see the elimination of other positions. We're going to see the creation of new positions. And that goes back to what I was saying earlier, too, about we have to have a high EQ or emotional intelligence, because even today, that still sets us apart. Being able to work with other individuals, being a problem solver, being able to communicate in a diverse environment and address people in different ways and different manners that works. Emotional intelligence, that's going to be critical regardless of the career path that any of our children take or any of the career paths that we're on right now, and how each of the career paths that exist today continue to evolve.
So I think that this is ultimately leading to a mentality among people where they think like they used to back in the day, like in the 50s and the 60s, where they were saying, oh, I lost my job because the immigrants are coming to the United States or whatever. Now it's like, oh, I lost my job. They took our jobs because of AI. You know? And
No, you're hearing it every day.
I seriously think that it's going to lead to that, you know, and there's going to be a division, I think, you know, among people who support AI and among people who, you know, are against it.
Well, here's the problem, brother, is that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're against it, because it's here and it's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
It's going to become more and more and more ingrained with every aspect of our lives. And either we as individuals, we have to adapt and we have to learn it, or we're going to be hanging out in Jurassic Park with the T-Rex.
How long do you think it'll be until the rise of the machines?
Oh, 3 to 5 years, if that.
All right.
I mean, the way Boston Dynamics, because if you look at that robot that Boston Dynamics uses, I mean, look, for less than 10 grand right now today, for $9,400, I can go out and buy an AI powered robot dog with a flamethrower on his back. That's true. I'm not kidding. I'm not making that up. That is legit.
I've seen that.
$9,400, you can have a flamethrowing robot dog secure in your crib.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And if these robots, consider what Boston Dynamics showed us when you see this humanoid robot that it's got. I'm the conspiracy theorist that goes, if they're showing this to the public, imagine what they have
Yes.
underground.
Yes.
You can be guaranteed that they've got something that will scare the living daylights out of you if you learned
Agreed.
about it out there at Area 51 or wherever it may be. I can promise you, if what you're seeing in the public, they've got something that's under the covers that would blow you away. So,
I agree. Because they're always like 10 to 15 years ahead of everybody else.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah, yeah.
All right, Larry. I like to end each episode with a little segment I like to call the final surge. Okay.
Ooh, okay.
Where I ask you 3 questions, totally unrelated to what we've been talking about, more on the personal lines, and you answer as honestly as you possibly can.
Okay.
Okay.
That's scary, but okay.
Question number 1. How do you take your coffee?
When I drink coffee, black.
Black.
Yep.
Ooh,
Yep.
a true cowboy. I love it.
I'm from Texas, y'all.
What are you binging right now on streaming platforms? What are you watching?
Man. God, I don't know. I mean, I just watched Godzilla X Kong, and I've watched that a few times now. I thought that was an amazing movie. Cheesy as I'll get out, but it was a ton of fun. But I'm not really watching any. I did just finish Shogun. Shogun was amazing. If you
Ooh.
haven't watched Shogun, that was tremendous. But I watch a lot of YouTube, man. I get a lot of my content from YouTube. So,
All right. And finally, what book are you currently reading?
actually, it's going to be here today. I ordered it just yesterday on Amazon, and it's by Salman Khan, who is the founder of the Khan Academy, and it's all about how AI is going to change education. So,
Ooh.
if it's not on the porch right this minute, it's going to be here before the day's out, and I'll be cracking that one open just as soon as it hits the front door.
I love it. I have kind of a book club thing going on here where, I ask everybody what they're reading, and then I add their book to my reading list, which is available down in the show notes below. So
Cool.
Yeah. And Larry, where can people find you? Let them know. Promote your
It's
stuff.
super simple, man. LarryRoberts.com is my website. All my socials are on there. You can find me anywhere you want to find me. Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. It's the Larry Roberts is the handle on all those platforms. So hit me up, man. I'd love to talk to you.
Awesome. Larry, thank you very much for coming on the show today.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it.
Thank you for sticking around until the end, everybody. Whether you're listening to the podcast on your favorite podcast listening app or watching on YouTube, do us a favor and hit that subscribe button, follow button, plus button, hit whatever button you got to hit to get notified of fresh episodes of SurgeCast. I had a great time talking with Larry. He's a cool dude. I hope it helped you guys and inspired you to keep kicking ass. All of Larry's links are down below in the show notes. And of course, if you want more out of SurgeCast, head over to surgemediany.com. Thanks, everyone. I'll see you next time.